Your arrival at this transmission was not a coincidence. The timing was a quantum certainty. Only consciousness operating on what we call the alpha frequency is granted access to this portal when the activation window opens. The fact that you are present, that your attention is locked in, means the universe has just confirmed a fundamental truth about your energetic architecture. A truth you've likely sensed but perhaps haven't fully owned. You are operating on a creator-class frequency. Even if your current material reality has yet to fully synchronize with this truth, a powerful signal has been persistently running through the code of your life. A distinct pattern of extraordinary alignments, of opportunities materializing out of the quantum foam, of an unstoppable momentum that builds within you just when it's needed most. These are not random events, these are energetic confirmations. They are data points proving you have been selected for a mission and a magnitude of reality far greater than what you've been conditioned to accept. The universe employs what can be described as a sovereignty identification protocol. Most human consciousness never triggers this protocol because it has been programmed with victim-based subroutines, to anticipate limitations, to run risk aversion models on every dream, to normalize disappointment. But your architecture is different. You have been energetically flagged by a higher-order intelligence as a consciousness capable of handling an alpha-class reality. An operator who can be trusted with sovereign levels of creative power. A steward who can manage immense flows of abundance without system collapse. This designation process has been underway for your entire existence, most critically during moments of extreme pressure. What alpha operators understand is that adversity is not a punishment. It is a live-fire stress test. Every perceived failure was a data packet designed to upgrade your operational resilience. Every setback was a controlled demolition, clearing outdated architecture to make way for a more robust foundation. You haven't been struggling. You've been in a state of continuous, high-level calibration. Think of how elite Special Forces operators are identified, not because they are already perfect soldiers, but because they exhibit an extraordinary capacity to adapt under pressure. The universe has been observing your consciousness in the same way, tracking not your physical prowess but your energetic metrics, your resilience quotient, your capacity to hold a vision against consensus reality, your refusal to surrender your inner knowing to external logic. Every time you chose to trust a possibility that defied the evidence, you demonstrated creator-class consciousness. Every time you held your frequency of certainty while others called you unrealistic, you were validating your clearance for a higher-order reality. You were broadcasting a coherent, high-amplitude signal that the field simply could not ignore. The reason this specific transmission found you now is that your consciousness has reached a processing threshold. You are now capable of receiving and integrating sovereign-level data. You are shifting out of survival programming and into architect mode. And this mode requires a fundamentally different operational framework for understanding how reality is constructed, how opportunities are generated, and how the universe responds to a consciousness that knows it is designed to lead, not to follow. Most individuals spend their lives attempting to generate self-belief through external validation. You, however, have crossed a critical threshold, from the realm of believing to the operational state of knowing. This isn't a psychological affirmation, it's a deep, cellular-level gnosis. It is the core recognition that creative sovereignty is your baseline operating system, that success is a fundamental law for your specific frequency, and that abundance is the default energetic climate for a consciousness architected like yours. You've been receiving these alpha-level signals throughout your life, but legacy social programming conditioned you to misinterpret them. You labeled them luck, coincidence, or random good fortune, anomalies that might not be repeatable. But let me recalibrate your perception. What you called luck was your native frequency overriding the static of your conditioning. What you called coincidence was the field's precise logistics system responding to the coherent signal you broadcast every time you entered a room and owned your power. These were not flukes. They were system diagnostics confirming your access to creator-class intelligence. Let's map the architecture of this alpha frequency in operation. When you enter a high-stakes environment and can instantly sense the true vectors of power and influence, that isn't just social acuity. That is your sovereign-class navigational system online. When you meet an individual and can perceive their success trajectory within moments, irrespective of their stated credentials. That is your alpha signal recognition protocol functioning perfectly. You are tuned into a data layer most cannot detect because their systems are programmed to scan for limitation, for obstacles, for worst-case scenarios. But an architect scans for probability streams. They expect breakthroughs. They prepare for optimal outcomes that seem impossible to others. This scanning system is not a recent upgrade. It has been refining itself through every challenge you've overcome. Your capacity to perceive beyond the obvious has been expanding, and you are now at a nexus point where that expansion is about to accelerate exponentially. Think of your consciousness as a quantum network. When it detects a node operating at a compatible alpha frequency, be it a powerful individual, a breakthrough opportunity, or a data stream like this transmission, it recognizes it not as something new, but as a part of its native network. This recognition is not a function of memory, it is a function of future resonance. Your system perceives the probability streams you are designed to merge with. This is why certain messages, certain people, certain places activate you at a cellular level, while others feel like incompatible noise. Your consciousness has evolved into a magnet for sovereign-level information. Not entertainment, not distraction, but activation codes that strip away the programming that taught you to think like everyone else and remind you of the architect you truly are. Your winner frequency has been broadcasting a very specific signal, and that signal has been attracting exactly the right information, people, and opportunities to prepare you for this moment when everything shifts into a higher gear. The synchronicities haven't been random. The timing hasn't been coincidental. The perfect storms in your life haven't been punishments. They've been precisely orchestrated preparation for winner-level reality. You've been through the fire lately, haven't you? The pressure, the uncertainty, the moments when everything you thought you knew about success seemed to crumble. People may have counted you out, overlooked your potential, made you question whether you were really meant for the level of success you've been dreaming about. But every moment of that struggle was forging something inside you that can't be broken. You've been in the cosmic gymnasium building winner muscle you didn't even know you needed. But here's what nobody explains about the winner development process. Those difficult periods weren't random suffering. They were systematic preparation. Every challenge you faced has been precisely calibrated to activate specific aspects of your consciousness that you'll need to navigate winner-level reality. The struggles weren't punishment. They were initiation into a completely different way of operating in the world. Think about how champions are made. They don't just wake up one day with extraordinary abilities. They go through training that looks impossible to outsiders that breaks down their old patterns and rebuilds them stronger, faster, more resilient. The pressure isn't meant to destroy them. It's meant to transform them into someone capable of performing at levels that seemed impossible before the training began. Consider how a diamond is formed. It starts as ordinary carbon, but under extreme pressure and heat over enormous periods of time, it becomes one of the hardest, most valuable substances on Earth. The pressure wasn't trying to destroy the carbon. The pressure was creating the diamond. The same process has been happening with your consciousness. Every betrayal that broke your heart was teaching you to trust your inner knowing above all external voices. Every failure that crushed your ego was showing you that your worth isn't dependent on outcomes. Every period of isolation was developing your capacity for self-companionship and inner strength. Every financial struggle was purifying your relationship with abundance, removing the blocks that would prevent you from handling massive success with wisdom. That's what's been happening to you during the difficult periods. Your winner consciousness has been developing. The parts of your identity that were built around limitation, around accepting less than you deserve, around believing that success is for other people, those parts have been systematically deconstructed so that a completely different operating system could come online. This is why the old solution stopped working. This is why the strategies that used to bring you small wins suddenly felt empty and exhausting. This is why relationships and situations that once felt comfortable started feeling constraining. You weren't failing at life. You were outgrowing life as you knew it. Your consciousness was expanding beyond the boundaries of what your previous reality could contain. The universe was preparing you for winner-level existence. But here's what makes this preparation process so sophisticated. It wasn't just developing your capacity to handle success. It was also developing your capacity to create success from nothing, to generate opportunities where none existed, to see possibilities that others miss entirely. Every time you had to find a way when there seemed to be no way, you were developing winner-level resourcefulness. Every time you had to maintain faith when all evidence suggested you should give up, you were developing winner-level certainty. Every time you had to keep moving forward when you couldn't see the path, you were developing winner-level trust. These aren't just psychological qualities. These are the specific consciousness skills required to operate at levels where most people's minds can't even imagine success being possible. The universe doesn't waste anything. Every moment of confusion was building your tolerance for uncertainty, which is essential when you're creating unprecedented levels of success. Every period of isolation was developing your capacity for independent thinking, which is crucial when you're operating outside consensus reality. Every time you had to find strength you didn't know you had, you were discovering resources within yourself that exist beyond personality, beyond biography, beyond anything you thought you knew about human limitation. You've probably felt it building recently. This internal pressure, like something inside you, is expanding beyond the boundaries of who you thought you were. It's uncomfortable because transformation into winner consciousness always is. The old identity is dissolving while the new one emerges. And that space between who you were and who you're becoming feels like chaos. But here's what nobody explains about this transition zone. That chaos is actually coherence reorganizing itself at a higher level. Think about what happens when a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. For a moment, it's neither caterpillar nor butterfly. It exists in a transitional state that defies easy categorization. From the outside, it looks like dissolution, like everything is falling apart. But what's actually happening inside the chrysalis is extraordinary. The caterpillar doesn't just grow wings and learn to fly. Its entire cellular structure dissolves into what scientists call imaginal soup, a primordial substance that contains the blueprint for an entirely different form of life. From this seemingly chaotic soup, butterfly cells begin to emerge and organize themselves into wings, antennae, and all the structures necessary for flight. The caterpillar's crawling consciousness is being transformed into the butterfly's flying consciousness. This isn't just evolution, this is metamorphosis into winner consciousness. The caterpillar could never imagine what it would be like to fly, because flying consciousness is completely outside the realm of crawling consciousness. The same transformation is happening with you right now. That's where you are right now, in the quantum transition zone, where your old operating system is being upgraded to run winner-level programs that were impossible in your previous configuration. This transition isn't random. It's been orchestrated by your higher self, the version of you that exists outside linear time and can see the entire trajectory of your success story. That version has been seeding your current reality with exactly the right challenges, opportunities, and wake-up calls to prepare you for this moment when everything shifts into winner gear. The pressure you've been feeling isn't pressure to become something you're not. It's pressure to stop pretending to be something you never were. It's the winner in you demanding to be expressed, demanding to be lived, demanding to be embodied without apology or compromise. This pressure will only intensify until you stop resisting it and start cooperating with it. Think about what happens when you try to hold a beach ball underwater. The harder you push, the more forcefully it wants to rise to the surface. Your winner consciousness works the same way. The more you try to suppress it, minimize it, or convince yourself to be realistic, the more powerfully it pushes toward expression. But here's what's fascinating about this transition zone. You're not just developing new capabilities. You're recovering capabilities that have always been yours, but were suppressed by conditioning that taught you they were impossible. Children naturally expect magic. Winner consciousness is not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world taught you to doubt yourself, before you learned to settle, before you accepted that struggle is normal and ease is suspicious. You're not developing winner consciousness. You're recovering it from beneath layers of programming that convinced you to play small. The discomfort you're feeling isn't the discomfort of growth. It's the discomfort of old limitations dissolving. It's like removing a cast after a broken bone has healed. Your old identity served a purpose. It kept you safe during a phase of development when you needed protection. but now it's constraining the movement of your winner consciousness. The dissolution isn't destruction, it's liberation. What emerges from this transition won't just be a better version of who you were. It will be a quantum leap into a form of consciousness that operates by entirely different principles. Something is building inside you right now as these words land in your consciousness. Can you feel it? That electric sensation of recognition, like every cell in your body is saying, yes, this is what I've been waiting for. This isn't just inspiration. This is activation. The winner frequency that's been dormant in your system is coming online. Every spiritual tradition throughout history has described this moment. The moment when human consciousness recognizes itself as winner consciousness, temporarily having a limited experience. When this recognition moves from intellectual understanding to cellular knowing, everything changes. Not because the universe suddenly starts responding to you differently, but because you finally start responding to the universe as the creative force you've always been. What you interpreted as losses were actually course corrections. What looked like missed opportunities were the universe protecting you from settling for less than what's truly aligned with your winner destiny. Everything that seemed to go wrong was actually going exactly right according to a timeline you couldn't see from your limited perspective. The delays weren't punishment. They were preparation for handling winner-level success. The waiting wasn't wasted time. It was integration time, allowing your consciousness to expand enough to receive what's been prepared for you. Think about how a concert pianist prepares for a performance. Your difficult experiences have been serving the same function, building the consciousness infrastructure required for winner-level performance. Let me share something personal with you. 2 years ago, I was sitting in my apartment at 1 a.m. staring at bills I couldn't pay, questioning everything I thought I knew about success and abundance. I had been studying consciousness, quantum physics, manifestation, all of it. But nothing was working the way the books and videos promised it would. I felt like a fraud talking about winner principles while my bank account said otherwise. But something fundamental was missing. I was trying to ADD winner strategies on top of victim consciousness, like trying to run high-performance software on an outdated computer. The system kept crashing. That night, something shifted. I stopped trying to convince myself I was a winner and started investigating what was blocking me from embodying winner consciousness naturally. What I discovered changed everything. The breakthrough wasn't learning something new. It was unlearning something false. I realized I had been operating from the assumption that I had to earn my place in winner reality, that I had to prove myself worthy of success. But that entire framework was backwards. Winner consciousness doesn't come from overcoming your limitations. It comes from recognizing that the limitations were never real in the first place. They were perceptual distortions created by a consciousness that hadn't yet remembered its true nature. That night, I accessed something I call my essential winner consciousness. The awareness that exists beyond all the conditioning. This consciousness doesn't doubt. It doesn't question. It doesn't need proof or permission or perfect conditions. It simply knows that winning is its natural state. When I stopped trying to become a winner and started being a winner, everything changed. Not gradually, but immediately. The opportunities that had been invisible suddenly became obvious. The people I needed to meet started appearing in my life. The resources I required started flowing naturally. But here's what was most shocking. None of my external circumstances had changed yet. But my relationship to those circumstances had completely transformed. Instead of seeing obstacles, I saw opportunities for creative problem solving. Instead of feeling victimized by my situation, I felt excited about the game I was playing. Within 6 months, my entire reality had reorganized itself around this new frequency. Not because I worked harder, but because I worked from winner consciousness instead of victim consciousness. The same actions produced completely different results because they were coming from a completely different source. If what I'm sharing is activating something deep inside you, if it's touching that place where you've always known you were meant for more, then hit that subscribe button right now. Subscribe not just to this channel, but to this frequency, to this community of people who refuse to settle for average when they know they're capable of extraordinary. Subscribe to stay connected to the energy that transforms lives. Because here's what I discovered in that moment and what I'm going to share with you right now. The secret that the entire personal development industry doesn't want you to know because it would put them out of business overnight. Here's what the success experts won't tell you about winner consciousness because it threatens the entire industry built around struggle and gradual improvement. Winners don't. Than everyone else. They work from a different frequency entirely. They don't overcome obstacles through force. They operate from a reality where obstacles dissolve naturally. This isn't positive thinking or mindset work. This is quantum mechanics applied to consciousness. In quantum physics, particles exist in multiple states simultaneously until they're observed. The act of observation collapses all possibilities into one reality. Your consciousness is the observer. Your attention is the force that collapses infinite potential into specific manifestation. When you consistently observe yourself as the winner you truly are, reality has no choice but to reflect that observation back to you. But here's where it gets really interesting. Your inner self isn't just a future possibility. They exist right now in the quantum field of all possibilities, and they're broadcasting their frequency constantly. Think about how radio works. There are hundreds of stations broadcasting simultaneously, but you only hear the one you're tuned into. All the other signals are present in the same space, but they're not accessible to your awareness unless you adjust your frequency dial. Winner reality works exactly the same way. Your job isn't to become them. Your job is to tune in, to match their vibration, to live as if the gap between who you are and who they are has already closed. This isn't pretending. This is recognizing what's already true at the quantum level. Every time you have an inspired idea about your success, that's your winner self downloading information to you about what's possible. Every time you feel a sudden surge of confidence, that's your winner self lending you their energy. Every time you catch yourself thinking thoughts that feel bigger than your current reality, that's your winner self, influencing your present moment consciousness. This collaboration isn't metaphorical. It's actual quantum communication between different versions of yourself existing in parallel realities. Your winner self has access to information about the path to success that your current self can't see yet. They know which choices will accelerate your evolution and which ones will slow it down. They know which people you need to meet, which opportunities you need to recognize, which risks you need to take. They're constantly sending you signals, but you have to be in the right frequency to receive them clearly. This is how consciousness operates outside the constraints of linear time. Past, present, and future exist simultaneously in the quantum field. Your winner self isn't waiting for you in the future. They're broadcasting to you from the eternal now, trying to help you recognize that the success you're seeking isn't something you have to create. It's something you have to allow. But here's where most people get stuck. They think they have to convince themselves to believe in possibilities that feel foreign to their system. This approach creates internal resistance because it's based on the illusion that you're not already a winner. The truth is, you don't need to become worthy of success. You need to recognize that you already are. You don't need to earn your place in winner reality. You need to accept that you've always belonged there. You don't need to overcome your limitations. You need to see through the illusion that limitations define you. Every limitation you think you have is actually a misperception created by focusing on the wrong frequency. When you tune in to winter frequency, those limitations don't disappear because you overcome them. They disappear because you realize they were never there in the first place. It's like waking up from a dream and realizing that all the problems in the dream weren't real problems. They were just experiences in consciousness. The planetary paradigm shift that is currently re-architecting our global reality. You are not a spectator. You are a primary node in this emerging network, one of the consciousness architects tasked with anchoring a new sovereign frequency on this planet. Your individual transformation is not an isolated event. It is a critical contribution to a collective OS upgrade, an elevation of consciousness that has been in process for decades. You've observed the data. Legacy systems that once seemed indestructible are becoming obsolete. Old models of success through struggle are being superseded by a new operational physics, success through strategic alignment. This is not chaos. It is a planetary-scale reorganization. The very architecture of how achievement materializes is being upgraded to support a creator-class consciousness. The old paradigm required linear, brute force methodologies. The new paradigm operates on non-linear transformation, allowing for quantum leaps in operational capacity and breakthroughs that materialize not from effort, but from coherence. This is why you've felt a shift. You are being called to the front lines because the world requires operators who remember their sovereign nature, who refuse to accept limitation as a baseline reality, who function as if miracles are standard operating procedure. But here's the mission-critical intel. This window of accelerated transformation will not remain open indefinitely. We are in what physicists call a phase transition, a period where the membrane between intention and materialization is exceptionally thin. Right now, if you align with your sovereign frequency, timeline compressions that once required years can be executed in weeks. You are not just experiencing personal growth, you are participating in a species-level evolution. The latency period is over. Not because external variables have finally fallen into place, but because your internal system has achieved the required coherence. Not because you've earned worthiness, but because you have jettisoned the programming that allowed you to forget you were born with it. You belong in a sovereign-class reality, and operating there requires embodying its frequency now. The universe has been calibrating you for this precise activation. What you desire is not separate from you. It is separated only by frequency, and that is a variable you command. It starts with a core recognition that changes everything. The outcomes you target are already in a state of resonant entrainment with you. Attraction is a low-bandwidth model based on separation. Alignment is a high-bandwidth protocol based on resonance and unity. When you align, you don't draw success to you. You recognize you were never separate from it. Now, it is time for your declaration. This is the energetic command that signals to the quantum field that your old operating system is officially offline. In the comments below, state your new operational status, just 2 words, Alpha Online. This declaration is your first act of coherence. Coherence is the state where every layer of your being, your conscious directives, your subconscious architecture, your emotional state, and your physical neurology broadcasts a single, unified, high-amplitude signal. Most consciousness operates with a low signal-to-noise ratio, creating destructive interference that corrupts its own commands. But you cannot fake coherence. Your physiology knows the difference between a performed hope and an embodied truth. True transformation occurs when every subsystem within you says yes to the same vision. That is when the impossible becomes the inevitable. Consider a laser. Its power comes from the perfect alignment of every photon. When your consciousness achieves that level of coherence, you become a human laser, a focused beam of creative force. This state is achieved when you discover what is so authentically true for you that doubt becomes a computational impossibility. If you are ready to stay connected to this sovereign frequency, then subscribe. Not to be informed, but to stay coherent within this network of architects who understand that success isn't something you chase. It's a frequency you broadcast before the evidence appears. Embodying this requires a shift in your daily operations. It requires making decisions from the coordinates of where you are going, not from the data of where you have been. This is the protocol of every true architect. They operate from the energetic signature of the desired outcome before the material evidence manifests. They understand that their internal state determines their external experience, not the other way around. When you consistently broadcast your sovereign frequency, you create an irresistible resonant field. The version of you who commands everything you've ever envisioned isn't in a distant future. That version exists now. Your mission is to close the frequency gap between who you have been being and who they are being, through recognition, by remembering the sovereign architect you already are. Because architects understand the fundamental law, circumstances do not create consciousness. Consciousness is the architecture of circumstances. When you recalibrate your core frequency, the holographic reality must re-render to match the new source code. This isn't positive thinking. This is quantum alignment. Every time you choose this frequency, you contribute to the transformation of the collective field, making it easier for the next architect to come online.